to Demetrius Johnson on Hot 104.1.
It's hip hop and R&B.
Here we go.
And every time I hear something hot, it makes me want to move. It makes me want to have.
You ready?
But it's something about this joint right here. This joint right here, it makes me want to.
Yo, welcome back to the Demetrius Johnson Show. I am he, DJ, and Jamie B. We're in the house, and I tell you what, I'm excited about this here, man.
Yes.
We got two folks in this studio that everybody want to hear from, man. I'm telling you, this is a great opportunity for us to reach out to them and let them tell the community who they are, and what they're all about. And that's what we do on this show. We do that. And let me just shut up and let me get ready to sit back and let them go to work. Let me first introduce a young lady I go way back with. Grew up in the project areas with me, and she's been out there doing things for a long time. I know that. And that state representative, Jamilah Nasheed.
Good morning, Demetrius. I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on your show this morning. And also, I would like to say hi to all of the listening audience that's out there today.
And another young lady I have had an opportunity to meet who I find very interesting, and had an opportunity to talk with her on several occasions. Let me talk to Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, Ms. Kim Gardner. How you doing, Kim?
How you doing?
All right, let's get down to it. This race has been a very interesting race. It's District 60. And it's been very interesting in terms of the philosophies. Let's start with you, Jamilah. Talk about what have you done and what have you done prior to being a state representative. Give the listening audience who are you and an overview of who you are.
Well, Demetrius, I am state representative of the 60th District. And I've done a lot for the St. Louis area as well as the 60th District. But if I can take you back, this is not a career move for me. This is my passion. I was the first African-American female bookstore owner in the city of St. Louis. I opened that bookstore because I cared about the community. I opened that bookstore simply because I know that if you don't know where you've been, you most definitely don't know where you're going. It was Jamilah Nasheed that stood up when the mayor wanted to take away the people's right to vote. It was Jamilah Nasheed opposing A, B, C, and D and wanted to do away with our leadership like Comptroller Darlene Green. This is not new to me. This is my passion. When the 70 shutdown occurred, it was Jamilah Nasheed, not my opponent. It was Jamilah Nasheed that went to jail for a cause, that laid down on Highway 70 because minorities were not getting the jobs that was due to them here in the city of St. Louis. It was Jamilah Nasheed that opposed the takeover. It wasn't my opponent out there fighting for the people. It was Jamilah. It was Jamilah Nasheed that stood up against Mayor Slay when he attacked one of our greatest leaders here, one of the greatest leaders here in the city of St. Louis, Sherman George. So this has been a passion for me. I care about my community, and my community know it, and my community know the real leaders here in the city of St. Louis. Not those that are put up by the powers to be, but know that Jamilah Nasheed has stood up when no one else would.
Ms. Gardner, let's talk about, give everybody your background. I know you're an assistant prosecuting attorney. You heard some of the things that Jamilah Nasheed, State Representative Jamilah Nasheed spoke of. Tell us about you.
Well, to tell you a little bit about me, I am a long-term resident of the 60th District. My family, Eddie Randall and Sons Funeral Home, they've owned a business in the 60th District for over 4 generations, spanning over 60 years. And my commitment to my community has been, I'm a lifelong resident of the 60th District, and as you stated, I'm an assistant circuit attorney, and I've given back to my community by being in the public servants arena for 3 years, being a prosecutor, protecting the citizens of the city of St. Louis, protecting our citizens from the harm that's being done, protecting our youth from continuing to go further into the system by promoting programs as drug court, as a lot of community prosecution, in which we do, So my background is vast. I have the legal experience as being a prosecutor of the city of St. Louis. I was an attorney and a defense attorney with Attorney Charles Kirksey, so I know both sides. I'm a defense attorney and a prosecutor, and being a lifelong resident of the city of St. Louis, the 60th district in particular, I know the issues that are facing and plaguing our community. And to address some of the issues that Ms. Nasheed has brought up, that she was out there sitting on Highway 70. If she remembers, when she first ran for state representative, she was running against a former opponent who was in the community way longer than what she was, and she had no experience being in the community other than sitting on the highway, which is a great effort. And she wants to talk about me being put up by someone. It's very offensive to me and my family, who's been in the 60th district all my life, to say that I'm put up to run against her, which, you know, we have serious issues affecting our community. We have this violent crime taking place in our community. We have this educational crisis going on in our community. We have healthcare crisis going on in our community. So for her to say or imply that I'm put up by the higher powers to be, which, you know, I've been in this district all my life, and like her, she's moved into the district. I've lived here, never lived anywhere else, and will continue to live here all my life. And these issues drive me. If we had the violent crime stopped, no. The healthcare crisis stopped, no. The educational crisis stopped. And when she's been in there for 2 years, these crises are getting worse from when she originally was the state representative. So the crime crisis is getting worse, the educational crisis is getting worse, and the healthcare crisis is getting worse. So that's my reason for running.
Let me just go back to State Representative Jamilah Nasheed. Talk about how the perception is that everything that has happened is circled. You use the mayor as a circling, I guess, a party to motivate other people. Talk about what have you done and what changes have you made since being a state representative?
I will do that. Before I go to that, let me also mention that it was Jamilah Nasheed when you was being attacked in your subdivision. Mm-hmm. It was Jamilah Nasheed standing out there with you, Demetrius, mm-hmm. with you out in the county. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the city of St. Louis issue that I fight. I fight the issues that's plaguing African Americans throughout the city of St. Louis. This is not just a 60th district issue that I have been fighting here in the city of St. Louis. But let me just go to what I've been involved in and how effective I've been as a state representative. There's approximately 4,000 young men and women that have literally dropped out of the St. Louis public schools. That's an epidemic here in the city of St. Louis. I know, and you know, Demetrius, that if the children are not being educated, they will eventually be incarcerated. So I took it upon myself with other community leaders and created a program called In It to Win. In It to Win is a program that reach out to those dropouts and let them know that someone cares. Because a lot of times the average individual that are reaping havoc in our communities are 15 years of age, 16 years of age. Their mothers are 34, 35 years old. They're smoking weed with them, listening to rap music with them. And they don't have the parental involvement to say, look, stay in school. What I've been able to do as a result of this program, I have brought back in 350 young men and women that wasn't doing anything but hanging out on their grandmother's porches and in the living room watching BET. And as a result of those 350 young men and women that have dropped out that I've brought back in, 35 just last month went on to take their GEDs and they passed. And now they're moving on to community college. The comptroller and I was very instrumental in creating a program. It's called the Green Tree Academy. And the Green Tree Academy is a program that teaches young men and women in the 60th district the art of arboriculture. Now, that's a fancy word for tree trimming. A lot of those young men and women now have gone on to work for the Department of Natural Resources as well as the Department of Forestry. So those are things that I've been involved in my community. Now, on the policy side, as an elected official, I, as a freshman, was instrumental in bringing back $900,000 for a reentry program. We have young men and women that are coming out of the penal system every year, 3,000 coming out every year, Demetrius. And they come out and they knock on the doors of opportunity. And the doors of opportunity is slammed in their face because they walk in with the stigma of being an ex-felon. And I'll tell you this here. The $900,000 is for those individuals to come back home and try to get acclimated back into their society without having to go back into the life of crime. And I tell you, another program that I am very proud of, that I'm working on, is a program that's going to help and create jobs for young men and women. And it's not, I haven't brought it up yet, and I want to talk a little more about it because it's fresh. But I'm on a budget committee that oversees $22 billion of state capital. $22 billion of state capital. It's crucial that I go back. Let me finish because I have a lot going on here. $22 billion, Demetrius. Out of the $22 billion that I oversee as a freshman, I have been able to bring home $250,000 in tax credit for the In It to Win program.
Let me go back over here to Kim Gardner. Kim, I understand that you have both a health administrative degree and a background in law and training. How would that help the legislative district? I mean, your degrees, and you hear her, when you talk to and you hear Jamilah Nasheed, state representative, you hear some of the things she's done. How would these two things, your degrees, the lack of experience, how would that still work with you to be a great state representative?
Well, as you know, state legislators, they make laws. They make the laws that I enforce every day as an attorney, specifically as a circuit attorney. So my experience in understanding the laws, understanding the interpretation of laws, deciphering laws would make me an effective legislator because I can make the laws work for us in Jeff City by proposing effective solutions to these real crises, as, like I said, crime crisis, this educational crisis, using the laws and crafting laws to work for us. And I think that's what we're lacking. You know, we want to talk about experience, and my experience as being looking at the laws, analyzing the laws, that gives me a wealth of knowledge that, it will be valuable up in Jeff City. And if I am picked to be state representative of the 60th district, I'll be one of the only African-American attorneys up there, and we need that.
Let me ask you another question here. What two areas would you focus on as being a legislator? I mean, you talk about those, being effective because of your administrative background, your legal background. What two areas would you focus on if you became a legislator?
Well, the two areas I would focus on, as I said, in the 60th district, this violent crime is crucial and it's a crisis in our community. So one of the things I would do is focus on crime preventative measures, as well as our educational system, helping our educational system. So those are the two key areas which are linked. Education is linked to building the community. Our kids need a foundation in education that allows them to go on to obtain higher degrees, that prevents them from going into the criminal justice system. So those are the two key areas: crime prevention, stopping this violent crime, and education.
State Rep Nasheed, we know that you've been in the community for a long time, and as an elected official, what would you say would be maybe your proudest moment as state rep representing the 60th district?
One of my proudest moments was the last day of session, where I was one of the only elected officials in the city of St. Louis, under the control of a Republican House, under the control of a Republican Senate, and not to mention under the control of a Republican governor's mansion. I was the only legislator in the city of St. Louis outside of State Representative Rodney Hubbard to pass legislation. The legislation that I passed was very crucial to the city of St. Louis. Right now, we're in a school district that is unaccredited as a result of the mayor stirring his hand in the pot. Children are not able to go on to community college because of the unaccredited status. My legislation says that if you are in an unaccredited school district, that you can still apply for the A+ program. That's a scholarship for young, deserving men and women to go on to further their education. See, because I didn't believe that the children of the city of St. Louis should be punished as a result of the faults of the administration. So that's one of my proudest moments in the State House, was being a freshman under a very, very rigorous leadership in the House as well as in the Senate and pass legislation. That's unheard of for a freshman to go to the State House and bring back legislation the first year.
State Representative Nasheed, you and I had a very spirited conversation when we were talking about the school district at the one point on the show. My question to you is this. Understanding the problems that we were having in our school district, why was that so difficult for you to let someone or your feelings to let someone else come in and intervene, understanding you talk real, passionately about helping and being around the kids and doing the right thing for the kids. But we know our school system was failing, and it seems to me with our conversation and what you're talking about now, that you had an issue of the school being taken over by the state.
Well, what we have to look at, when you talk about the public school district failing, you have to look at the public school systems in the suburban areas. They're not failing. The reason that the St. Louis public school is failing is not simply because it's the fault of the teachers or of the district. We have so many elements that are plaguing our communities. Poverty is a direct correlation to those children problems and when it comes to academics. Okay? Lead is a direct problem when it comes to the children succeeding in school. You have children in the St. Louis public school, the only meal that they get is when they go to school. So teachers have to deal with all of that. You have children that are in broken homes. So it's not only the fault of the public school system. We have to look at all of the elements that's plaguing those youth and begin to understand why those children are not succeeding here in the St. Louis public schools. We have to understand that there's a major attack on public education.
Okay. Let me go over to Kim Gardner. Kim, you heard State Representative Nasheed talked about the education, the importance of education. What are your thoughts when she's talking about the young men? She went and got 4,000, young men who were just at the grandmama's house, not doing nothing. We got 350 of them back, and now 35 of them got GEDs. What is your thought on young men in the criminal system? And what would you do, and some of the things you would do as a legislator to change that? You heard her passion about it. What is your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I would like to answer some of the questions she's touching on with the educational system. And one of the things that I want to focus on, if I pick to be state representative of the 60th district and a legislator, is my thing is with education, we have to get the innovation inside the classroom. We have to make it work, bridge the gaps of our kids and our learning in the classrooms. And I think that's what we are not focusing on. The A+ program, I guess the program that she's sponsored with high school dropouts, that's a great program. I'm not saying anything about it, but that's a symptom to the real problem that's affecting our kids in the classroom is the learning, their achievement, academic achievement inside the classroom. We want to talk about where our kids learn instead of what they're learning, and we need to focus on that in order to bridge the gap between these deficiencies and what our kids are facing in our community, in our public schools. And that's what's not being addressed. Of course we know our kids have a lot of social, emotional concerns. All kids anywhere in the state of Missouri have these different problems with, poverty. We have the family structure, but those are things. The achievement is what goes on in the classroom. We have to work with the teachers. We have to work with the schools, the principals. We have to give the schools more autonomy to get this innovative learning into the classrooms to help bring our kids up. And of course, this program of dropout program is great. If we keep going on another year, we're going to have 35 more people who drop out of school, and it's going to fund her program. But we need to address the real problems, which is getting our learning inside the classroom. And we talk about, she wants to talk about my experience, and I want to touch on some of the things she said she's done as a freshman legislator. She was leading the efforts in the A+ program. Of course, the schools are unaccredited. That's a no-brainer that now you would want the A+ program to work for the kids in an unaccredited program. But, when she talks about being under this Republican administration, do we have to sell out your views in order to get this program? Because if you look at her track record, she walked on the school bill. She's for the teachers union, but she's walked on the school voucher bill. She's supposed to be for public school education. You just question her, why did she, not even vote on the bill? She walked on the bill. If you're so for what's going on in the public school education, then we need to address that. Also, on these funding of these programs, these programs are great. The prisoner reentry program. I'm not saying that we don't need this, but I say we need a collective, cohesive program that address crime prevention as well as fairness in the criminal prosecution system. We can't have one without the other, and we keep making bits and pieces of these symptoms to solving these solutions. We need a comprehensive program, and that's what I bring. And as a effective litigator, attorney, I want to make sure if I go up to Jeff City, I can effectively pose laws without having to take a walk on bills, sell out part of my beliefs for a bill that is a no-brainer, and that comes with experience, being an effective litigator, understanding the laws and making the laws work for us, and that's what I want to do.
I'll tell you what, let's just take a break. We'll come back to you, State Representative Nasheed. Demetrius Johnson Show. We have
State Representative Jamilah Nasheed and Kim Gardner.
Only on Hot 104.1. We'll be right back.
From the stores department, you more like a love star.
It's a Memorial Day celebration.